25. Call the meeting to order. Ashley, do we have a quorum?
We have a quorum.
Item 1, PA 724, 1400 to 1500 Wooddale Boulevard, to amend the comprehensive land use plan from compact neighborhood to employment center located on the west side of Wooddale Boulevard, south of Tom Drive. Council District 6, Dunn Jr. Commission action, motion to approve, carried 9-0. Anyone here wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll go to council. Motion by Councilman Dunn Jr., second by Councilwoman Amorosa. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 2, case 5324, 1400, 1500 Wooddale Boulevard, to rezone property from light commercial C1 to light commercial 3, LC3 to commercial warehouse 3, located on the west side of Wooddale Boulevard, south of Tom Drive, Council District 6, Dunn Jr. Commission action, motion to approve, carried 9-0. Anyone here wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll go to council. Motion by Councilman Dunn Jr., second by Councilwoman Amorosa. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, case 5224, 7250 Perkins Road, to rezone property from single-family residential to limited residential located on the south side of Perkins Road, west of Starring Lane, Council District 12, Rocca. Commission action, motion to approve, carried 9-0. Anyone here wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll go to council. We have a motion. Motion by Councilwoman Rocca, second by Councilwoman Amorosa. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, case 5424, 535 St. Rose Avenue, to rezone from single-family residential A2 to neighborhood office NO on property located on the east side of St. Rose Avenue, south of Government Street, Council District 7, Harris. Commission action, motion to approve, carried 9-0. Anyone here wishing to speak on this item? Please come on up. Read your name for the record. We're going to have the proponent speak first, then the opponents. Each speaker will be allowed not more than 3 minutes. Speakers are requested keep their remarks limited to avoid duplication in their presentations.
Sorry to jump in front of you there. Good afternoon. Thanks for the chance to speak on this regarding the zoning change at 535 St. Rose Avenue. That's adjacent to my business, Barracuda Taco Stand. I want to begin by saying that we love our neighborhood and the surrounding community. We're excited to contribute to its development. We've felt super welcome since we've landed here almost 2 years ago. Though I do not own this property, we have invested significant resources in improving the space. And our sincere hope is that we can continue to offer an accessible dining option and a gathering place for the community. In public comments in the past, there's been a few points that I'd like to speak to. Though I'm not the owner or the developer of the lot, this property has been through a bit of a process, and ultimately we're left in a position where there is a bit of street parking that's going on in the community. In some cases, it's on St. Rose, for instance, where it is very narrow. That's something that we're committed to continuing to help with wayfinding on, to make sure that we're able to, assist with the city as much as, as the business on our side. Otherwise, throughout the neighborhood, we see this as a good opportunity to be able to defray some of the cars that are otherwise ending up parking in street parking, and sometimes to the detriment of our neighbors, in addition to the fact that we are going to continue kind of trying to guide that with wayfinding as much as possible. Otherwise, our business has thrived, and thanks to the strong support from our local community, we couldn't exist without our neighbors. But we do continue to face these ongoing parking challenges that hinder our ability to attract new customers. While some voicing opposition take issue with the lot in question, we've also heard a great deal of pushback for street parking, as I mentioned. This lot would alleviate a significant portion of that friction and enhance our service capability, directly benefiting the neighborhood and the community at large. We're committed to improving our community further and have invested, as I mentioned, signage to help disperse traffic away from the St. Rose corridor. I'd be enthusiastic with partnering with the city to explore options for completing a sidewalk down St. Rose, enhancing this wayfinding, and generally being involved in improving that part of the neighborhood's infrastructure. In conclusion, this zoning change is not just a request for a parking lot, it's an opportunity for continued growth and revitalization in this community. And thanks for your consideration of this request.
Thank you, sir. Can you give us your name for the record, please?
Yeah, I'm Brett Jones.
Brett Jones.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item, in favor of the item? State your name for the record, please.
My name is Gene Tadero, and I live in the neighborhood not that far from that lot that we're talking about, and I support the lot. I think it would be a good idea for that block, and I like the fact it's contiguous to the property that's already there. It's not like it's down the street. It's right there behind the taco place, so I support it as a neighbor.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item in favor of it? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Please state your name for the record.
My name is Justin Kozak. I currently serve as the president of the Garden District Civic Association. I want to start out by saying I'm a big fan of all the development on Government Street. I want to see it fully developed out. I eat at Barracuda often, and if I actually paid for haircuts, I'd probably go to Parker Barber. So I like everything that's going on there. However, the Garden District Civic Association opposes this rezone on behalf of its hundreds of member households. Typical standards for granting a variance include undue burden on the property owner or unique circumstances on the lot in question. There are no unique circumstances, nor is the property owner alleged any, and any burden is the result of private development decisions. That is, they are self-created. In the absence of applying a standard to granting a variance, I think we can all at least agree that a variance should solve a problem. What problem does this variance solve? The problem presented by the applicant and property owner is a lack of parking, but there isn't a lack of parking in the area, nor will this variance solve that parking problem, as they themselves have admitted in past Planning Commission meetings and 20 months ago before this very council. The two things I have received complaints about is people parking on the streets of the Garden District and the unsafe conditions the owner's development decisions have created on the 500 block of St. Rose. As to the first, I haven't received a complaint about parking on the streets of the Garden District since the last time they attempted this rezone, 20 months ago. Our wide streets are an asset to the neighborhood, and we don't own the parking spots. So parking there is okay as long as people follow applicable parking rules. I've actually encouraged parking on the streets in the Garden District in lieu of building this unnecessary parking lot and losing a residential lot. And I've been very vocal about it, and so far no one has called for me to resign as president of the Civic Association. As to the second problem, the dangerous conditions on St. Rose, I've received repeated complaints. People park haphazardly, forcing people to walk in the street, posing a danger to both pedestrians and motorists. But a parking lot is not necessary to address this problem, nor will it. The owner owns most of the frontage on St. Rose and at one point owned the entire block. He's had it fully in his power to create a safer situation for both his tenants and the Garden District and McGrath Heights neighborhoods for years and has done nothing to delineate sidewalk from parking lane from driving lane. He's provided no visual cues and improved no sidewalks. Now, the owner may argue that this is a public right-of-way and it's not his responsibility, but that's particularly galling to the residents of the Garden District who have spent more than $38,000 since January 2021 to maintain public spaces throughout the neighborhood, to improve safety and maintain quality of place. That's the residents spending their own money on things that they don't own for the benefit of the neighborhood. The owner has told many folks he wants to help, including members of this council, but words are one thing and actions are another. I'm also particularly bothered by the lack of effort at any sort of due diligence by the owner. They claim at the Planning Commission, they claimed 14 parking spots from this lot. 20 months ago, they claimed 10 spots. Even that number is not possible unless we change the parking rules as well. These are parking rules in place to, and I'm quoting from the UDC here, promote the public health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens and contributing to the quality of life by encouraging a superior level of design and development. This is a 65 by 65 foot lot, which is smaller than the minimum required square footage for a neighborhood office lot. So we're already non-compliant with the UDC. A 15-foot vegetated buffer is required between a parking lot and an incompatible use, which this lot has on two sides.
Sir, that's your time. I'll let you finish your thought.
Thank you. So unless we roll back design standards, we're looking at a 50 by 50 lot, and you can squeeze maybe 6 spaces on that, but you subtract the 2 spots we're losing on St. Rose and the parking lot entrance, and we're looking at a net gain of 4 parking spots. This helps no one. If we're going to have people parking on the streets of the Garden District with or without a parking lot, we'd rather have actual people for neighbors and not a parking lot.
Thank you.
Thank you for the extra time.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, Mr. Jones, I can offer you 3 minutes to rebut anything that you'd like to from previous.
No specific rebuttal on those items, other than the fact that when this lot, previously the lot was a blighted home, the city directed the landlord, I'm not the owner, I am a tenant, to remove that home. Immediately after that was done, the lot was being treated as a de facto parking lot, which I think does demonstrate the need and the desire for there to be more accessible parking. In that circumstance, we ran into a situation where it was creating, the lot wasn't designated for that. we weren't directing people there, but it was turning it into an eyesore. It was a mud, turning muddy, that sort of thing. The landlord at that time dumped some gravel to try to improve the conditions. As far as I can't speak to the notes that were just provided as far as requirements for the size of the lot, other than to say that in the past, when we looked into this, it met the requirements that we were proposed. So I can't necessarily go against that, but I can say that there's an appetite for the parking. It was being utilized that way until we had to physically block it off to create a barrier so that it didn't create more of an eyesore in the neighborhood. The landlord took that action at that time, but since then we have been in a deficit, and it's felt that way, and we've heard that voice to us numerous times. Thanks.
Okay, now we'll go to council. Councilwoman Coleman.
Ryan, got a question. The gentleman alluded to it not being adequate, the size not being adequate, the whatever he was talking about. Talk to me about that, and then how many parking spaces will this be?
So real quick, there was one speaker that spoke to a variance. I want to make this clear. This is not a variance that's being requested tonight. It is a rezoning request. The request is from A2. The property is currently zoned single-family residential A2, and the applicant is requesting neighborhood office NO zoning district. Neighborhood office is the most restrictive zoning district we have in the Unified Development Code that would allow parking as a principal use. This business and the owner had identified a parking concern early on. This is the second request to rezone this property. As you know, they requested a rezoning last year that was approved or recommended approved by the Planning Commission and ultimately denied. I don't think the applicant was at that meeting, but that's what's being considered. The parking requirements are determined by the permit office based on the use of the businesses that are there and the individual square footage. I do not have that detailed information, but ultimately that's not even what's being discussed or should be discussed here. It's whether or not it's appropriate to rezone it from a residential use to a potential neighborhood scale office that would allow parking. I can tell you this property is in the overlay district. The overlay district does have additional regulations and restrictions that can make it burdensome for parking, and there's additional regulations that they're required to meet. That overlay typically requires buildings to be moved to the street, and parking is generally in that overlay recommended behind those buildings. These buildings have been there quite some time. There is an incentive in the overlay district as well as in the parking regulations for the city parish to encourage redevelopment along this corridor and other similar areas in the parish. It offers a parking credit that helps them accommodate the minimum parking requirement, but it sounds like the bottom line in this particular case is the business, to be successful, has demonstrated that they have they need more parking than what's available on the site.
Okay. Brett, tell me, have you all had a meeting with the community?
I've spoken with multiple members of the community, sometimes in their own home, sometimes in passing at the restaurant. I have not recently, since the first time the landlord applied for this, personally held a meeting where we called a number of folks out.
Okay.
I haven't held that in that particular way, but I have met over time with neighbors, again, sometimes in their living room, sometimes at the restaurant itself.
And when you talk about the sidewalks, that talk to me about that. When
The
you say
sidewalks,
about
yeah.
the sidewalks that you're willing to do something with.
Yeah, so there's a kind of a multiple issues on the sidewalk on St. Rose. Part of it is that city infrastructure kind of butts right up onto the property. And I'm not the sharpest person on discussing this as far as the property lines and how that's affected, but essentially there's a bit of an issue where the sidewalk, it's one of those situations where the sidewalk just sort of ends. And then due to lack of wayfinding, there not being a sidewalk there, it's in a bit of disarray. So I guess essentially what I'm alluding to there is that it would be great to be able to accommodate as best we can as a business, or help lead the process. Again, I'm a little bit ignorant on the exact process of it, but knowing that we need that sidewalk, for one, to keep people out from walking down the middle of St. Rose, which is, I'll admit, a narrow street. I know people are turning off of government there, and it can create a situation where if cars are coming in every different direction or folks are walking in the street, it's a bit chaotic. So I do believe that additional wayfinding and a functional sidewalk right there would keep people, would keep it a little more orderly. And it would also keep people from parking kind of willy-nilly on the side there, despite our many signs that we put up. I'm not sure if that answers your question or
Yep.
not. Okay.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Harris?
Yes, I want to state for the record that I spoke to Fred Rayford before making my way to City Hall, and he has assured me that he will work with my office to work on those sidewalks, make those enhancements, and the beautification as well as far as landscaping also. Ryan, can you come back to the mic, please? Can you share with us how many emails you've received in support of this project, and how many opposition emails did you receive?
Certainly. Leading up to the Planning Commission meeting, it was announced, I believe we had 19 messages in support of this rezoning at the Planning Commission meeting and 3 in opposition. I'm not certain if Ashley announced any messages that came in prior to this meeting.
We received 77 comments in support and 0 in opposition.
Myself, I've dined at Barracuda Tacos, and I had a great experience. It's family friendly, it's right in the heart of a neighborhood, it's walking distance, and it's great for Government Street. It's great for Baton Rouge. So I make the motion to approve, please.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Harris, second by Councilman Dunn Jr. Is there any opposition? Showing Councilwoman Coleman opposed. Any other opposition? Motion carries. Councilwoman Amorosa?